G'day and welcome to part 2 of a 3-part series. My name is Aaron and in today's video it is my ring day, bent arm day and some mobility. So at the moment in my current training program I am sharing this across 3 videos. In part 1 I covered my locomotion flow day. Today is part 2. It's all about the rings and some other stuff. And in part 3 we'll cover my handstand work, which I do twice a week. So I do locomotion once a week, the rings and bent arm stuff once a week, and then I do handstands twice a week. As I mentioned in part 1 of this series, I do shoulder opening and wrist prep every single session. So I do some hanging there and I do some work with the dowel to open up my shoulders, and then I do some wrist warm-ups. So if you want to see that, you can check that out in part 1. I won't repeat that today. Let's just get stuck into it. Okay, so my rings are set up. This is my little ring spot. This is the hardest strength component of the entire program. So what I'm doing is an L-sit to shoulder stand to straddle to an eccentric lever. It's essentially a lever down back into L-sit. My goal is 10 in total as a cluster set. I'm now able to link up 2, sometimes 3, so I might get through this in 3 or 4 sets. I'll usually rest 90 seconds between each set, or sometimes more, because this is pretty taxing, as you're about to see. So let's get into it. First set, called it at 2. Felt like there was a third there, but I am getting a little bit of a foot cramp. First set of the day. Ugh. Madness. This is Sparta! So these L-sit shoulder stand to levers are a bit more of an intermediate skill. So to get here, what I had to learn was the L-sit, which isn't too bad. I had to learn the shoulder stand. I found that really hard actually. The balance was really hard. And the levers, well, they're just difficult because they put so much stress through the pecs and the arms. But in terms of like upper body development, anything on the rings is just amazing. So I absolutely love training on the rings, but for beginners, you want to start with like dips and things like that, pull-ups, learn how to muscle up, and then progress to this stuff. Next on the menu, pullovers. So for this one, I've just used a small 2.5 kilogram plate and my broomstick, and this is a mobility drill. It's a loaded mobility drill. So I found the best mobility for me, which is something I really struggle with, is loaded mobility. So let's take a look at this one. It's a bit tricky. pullovers, they're a bit of an unusual one because they really get into different parts of the shoulder I certainly wasn't used to. They stretch out the biceps and they get into the hammies. So I do 10 reps and then on the 10th, I try to just let the weight hang, just to stretch me out for like 20, 30 seconds. This weight isn't overly large, 2.5 kilos, 5.5 pounds for you non-metric people. I'm Australian, everything's metric here. So yeah, pullovers. Tonight, we dine in hell. If there was an exercise from hell, it would be the RTO dip, or the ring turned out dip. So you've got your standard dip. The RTO dip is turning the hands to be flat with you, and then we're gonna dip behind. This places enormous stress on the biceps and the pecs and the front of the shoulders. So if you're new to these, be very careful. Start off with your regular dips and then learn how to do the support hold, where you can just hold yourself like this. But let's take a look at the RTO dips. And if those RTO ring turned out dips weren't evil enough, we are supersetting those with some military press. I rarely lift weights, but it's fun to have a barbell back in the program, so let's take a look at my military press. The last few phases where I've been working on handstand push-ups, I've been doing more just body weight handstand push-up drills. So this is just to mix things up, do something a bit differently this phase, and I'm already seeing a good carryover just with some strength for my handstand push-up. Okay, so round number 2, RTO dips, military press. I do 4 rounds of this. I'm doing 3 reps of RTO dips and I'm doing 8 to 12 reps of the military press. So set number 2. Last superset of the day, we're doing chest to bar, chin-ups, strict form, and Cuban rotations in a superset. So I'm aiming for 6 to 8 quality chest to bar chins, and then straight on to Cuban rotations. Cuban rotations. You don't need much weight for these. Excellent for strengthening the rotator cuff. Whew. That's it guys for part 2. Work on the rings bent arm day is done. Tune into part 3, which will be my handstand routine at the moment. So subscribe to not miss out on part 3. Go check out part 1 if you haven't checked that out yet. Subscribe, like, comment, do all those things, and I'll see you in the next video.